I've been chubby with Ethan Hunt since childhood. At school we were ostracized by other kids and had no choice but to stick together for comfort. People around us often teased you two should just end up together. I would blush with embarrassment while he always wore a beaming smile. But later, as he grew tall and well-built with defined muscles, he gradually distanced himself from me. I thought I was just being overly sensitive until our parents brought up the old jokes again. Ethan exploded in front of everyone who could ever like a pig. It's disgusting. Even after his outburst, Ethan didn't leave. He stood there glaring at me, fuming with anger. I was originally picking crab meat. Ethan loved eating crab, but had no patience. He'd get frustrated halfway through eating. So I quietly searched for videos on YouTube to learn how to pick crab meat. After that, every time he ate crab, I'd first prepare a full bowl of neatly picked meat for him. All he had to do was lift his hand and pop it into his mouth. But now I stopped what I was doing and looked up at him blankly, utterly confused. I couldn't understand why he was suddenly so angry when everything had been fine. Everything had been fine before, with both families sitting together eating and chatting in a harmonious atmosphere. Until his mother watched me dismantle a crab and said with a smile, "Bella is so capable. Ethan is lucky to have you." The moment the words left her mouth, Ethan abruptly stood up and exploded. Who would like a pig? How disgusting. Ethan's father was the first to react, standing up and smacking the back of his head, frowning and scolding. "What nonsense are you talking? Apologize right now." His mother chimed in from the side, but Ethan was unusually stubborn, refusing to back down as he stiffened his neck. "Am I wrong? Just look at how fat she's become. Double chin, squinty eyes, 2 layers of flab on her belly. She could probably float if she fell into water." Enough. My father couldn't take it anymore and slammed the table hard. Pointing toward the door, "Get out." Ethan raised his head and left without hesitation. His parents kept apologizing and quickly followed him out. In the blink of an eye, the once lively atmosphere vanished without a trace. My mother hugged me and whispered comfortingly, "Bella, don't listen to his nonsense. You're the most beautiful." I let out a long sigh and turned to look at her, but he wasn't entirely wrong. I tried to force a smile, but tears still streamed down my face. My mother sighed with heartache and murmured, "What's gotten into Ethan? He wasn't like this before." But you know as well as I do that was in the past. Ethan and I were childhood friends. Both spoiled by our families, we grew up with plump, rounded figures during our childhood years. In elementary school, besides him, I was the fattest kid in class. Even at a young age, children yearn for beautiful things. For those of us who fell outside conventional standards of beauty, there was always some degree of disdain. Unsurprisingly, we both ended up being ostracized because of our weight. But at that time, neither of us cared if other kids didn't want to play with us. We'd just play by ourselves. We often shared snacks together, chatted about what we ate yesterday, and fantasized about whether today's dinner would bring any surprises. Over time, we became inseparable, sharing everything without reservation. Our parents gradually became acquainted too, and since we happened to live in the same apartment building within the same community, they grew increasingly close. Sometimes when work gets busy, it's common to ask the other party to take care of the children. During holidays, the two families often went on trips together or had meals together. Just like one family, Ethan's mother really liked me. She would always pinch my cheeks and say with a laugh, "This chubby little girl is so adorable. Why don't you become our daughter-in-law someday?" By then, I was already in 6th grade and understood exactly what she meant. No discomfort was felt, only shy excitement that flushed my cheeks. "What do you think, Ethan?" Each time Ethan would nod with a beaming smile. "Of course, it's great. That way I can keep eating Annie's Cola chicken wings forever." Hearing this, the adults burst into laughter. I stole a glance at Ethan just as he happened to look my way. Our eyes met, brimming with shared laughter surging like the sea. Back then, I thought that youthful feelings could overcome any hardship. But I forgot how easily things change, and the first to change was Ethan's weight. The summer after middle school graduation, I went to the countryside with my parents because my grandmother was seriously ill, staying there until almost time for school to start again. When we met again, I noticed Ethan had changed a lot. He had grown taller and thinner, wearing a sports tank top that revealed defined muscle lines on his arms. It was as if he had been reborn, completely transformed. I was utterly shocked. "Ethan Hunt, you actually went behind my back and lost weight. We promised to enjoy good food and be chubby forever. How could you betray the organization?" "Don't be ridiculous," Ethan explained during the break. "My mom made me help out at my uncle's barbecue shop. It was exhausting work all day. I didn't even feel like eating. Of course I lost weight." After finishing his explanation, he looked me up and down, frowning slightly. "As for you, didn't you go to the countryside? How come you look a bit heavier than before you left?" Speaking of this, I scratched my head sheepishly. I couldn't help it. The homemade stew back in the countryside was just too delicious, and the meat was so flavorful, I simply couldn't resist. "Oh, I brought you a gift." I pulled out a carefully wrapped piece of smoked meat and presented it to him like a treasure. "This is a piece I picked out specially. It's incredibly fragrant. Have your mom cook it for you when you get back." After a long pause, Ethan finally reached out and took it, casually placing it on the table. Glancing at his watch, he urged me. "I invited a friend over to play games, and he'll be here any minute. You should hurry up and leave. Don't let him see you." I didn't understand why he was afraid of being seen by me when meeting friends, but I didn't ask further and just turned to go home. Later, every time I asked him to hang out or grab food, he would reject me. His reasons were always, "I've made plans with friends to play games, play basketball, go hiking." All sorts of excuses. I even suggested whether he could bring me along. He looked me up and down, curling his lip. "You forget it. You're so lazy. What could you possibly do? You just hold everyone back." Seeing my dejected expression, he quickly added, "But I'll bring you back some tasty treats." Hearing that, the gloom in my heart instantly lifted, and I nodded with a smile. Time flew by, and before I knew it, the school term had begun. What a coincidence, Ethan and I were assigned to the same class again. I was thrilled freshmen in high school had to attend a 2-week orientation camp. On the first day, a girl standing in front of me fainted during lineup due to low blood sugar. The coach scanned the group before pointing at Ethan. He stepped forward and helped that girl rest. Yes, Ethan shouted loudly, then ran up to the girl and asked her something in a low voice. Whatever he said, the girl shook her head in response. Then, right in front of everyone, he scooped her up in his arms and carried her across the field toward the nurse's office. Cheers erupted all around them as I watched the two figures grow distant. I only felt an inexplicable tightness in my chest. When break time came, I found Ethan and asked him about what had happened earlier. He shrugged it off. She said she was too weak to stand, so I had no choice but to carry her to the nurse's office. It's not like I could just leave her there, right? We're all classmates. Helping each other is just common decency. Hearing this, I felt relieved and secretly formed an idea in my mind. As we lined up, I glanced at the scorching sun overhead, steeled my heart shut, my eyes tightly, and collapsed limply to the ground. Coach, someone fainted again. A classmate beside me cried out in alarm. The coach crouched down to check on me, then called Ethan over. Take her to the nurse's office. With my eyes still closed, my heart filled with anticipation, only to hear his indifferent voice drift down from above. Coach, you must be joking. How can I take her with me? When she asked, this fat beside someone this big, couldn't he possibly have low blood sugar? She asked, probably just trying to slack off. For hearing this, I instinctively tensed up, my hands involuntarily clenching into fists, feeling a guilty pang, as if my secret thoughts had been exposed. Before I could decide whether to stand up, I heard the coach's stern voice. What nonsense. If you don't want to help, fine, but keep your ridiculous comments to yourself. You fall back in line. Everyone continue formation. With that, the coach bent down to help me up and slowly walked me to the shade of a tree. No one else here. You can stop pretending. Hearing these words, my heart that had been hanging in suspense finally sank, though my palms had been sweating from nervousness. I slowly opened my eyes and looked at the coach before me. Standing at attention, I bowed my head in apology. Coach, I'm sorry. The gaze from above lingered on me for what felt like an eternity, so long that my legs began to tremble involuntarily, with guilt again. At last I heard him speak again. Considering it's your first offense, and you've shown good attitude in admitting your mistake, I want to report this for criticism. After the summer camp ends this afternoon, go run 2 extra laps around the field yourself. Yes, I hastily agreed, feeling my heart gradually calm down. There's still 5 minutes until break. No need to rush back, just stay here for now. Yes, watching the coach leave, I plopped down on the ground, patting my chest and panting heavily to relieve the tension. As I sat there, Ethan's words when I pretended to faint involuntarily came to mind. She is so fat. I looked down in my belly and pinched the flesh on the back of my hand. All the emotions I'd ignored due to nervousness came flooding back at that moment. So was he disgusted by me, disgusted by my weight, unwilling to lend a hand. But he clearly said we were the same, that neither of us would look down on the other. Seriously, hey, Isabella. Just as my thoughts were in turmoil, a familiar voice suddenly came from above me. I looked up to see Ethan walking over. When he reached me, he handed me the ice water he was holding. I didn't take it. Looking at him, I hesitated before finally blurting out, Ethan, didn't you say classmates should help each other? Then why just now? How can you even say that? Before I could finish, Ethan cut me off sharply. Why would you pretend to faint for no reason? I know you too well. I could tell at a glance. Luckily the coach is kind, and didn't he notice, or you'd be in trouble. The coach, isn't stupid, I muttered under my breath. But I still didn't understand what he meant. I'm doing this for your own good. If you skip training by pretending to faint, what if other students find out and start copying you? Then those who genuinely need help will be put in an awkward position. Besides, I'm sticking with it. How can you slack off as my friend? Ethan's words sounded reasonable, but something about them felt off to me. Before I could figure it out, Ethan suddenly stood up beside me. Chloe, what brings you here? I heard Ethan's voice for the first time, so gentle, carrying obvious protective undertones. Looking up, I saw it was the girl who had fainted earlier. I heard another classmate fainted. I have some candy here. Eating it can help relieve the discomfort a little. Chloe Davis extended her hand toward me, her open palm holding a few pieces of candy. Before I could react, Ethan took the candy first, smiling warmly. You're so kind, thinking of others. Even when you're not feeling well yourself, you still look quite pale. Why don't I walk you back, so you can rest a bit more? No need to trouble yourself. I can go back alone. Chloe declined with a gentle smile. You should spend more time with Isabella instead. After saying that, she turned and left. No, Ethan wanted to say something, but it was too late. He could only watch her walk away. It wasn't until her figure disappeared from sight that he turned back indignantly. He glared at me fiercely. Look at her, then look at yourself. Don't you feel ashamed? Of course I felt ashamed, hanging my head in self-disgust. If it weren't for you, how could she have misunderstood? A gust of wind blew past, the faint sound dissipating into the air. I looked up blankly, searching for an answer, only to be met with an impatient face. You shouldn't eat this candy. Ethan glanced down at the candy in his hand, gripping it tightly. After all, you're already so fat. Wouldn't eating more just make you fatter? Fat? This was the second time he called me fat today. Was it intentional or unintentional? I can no longer tell the difference. 6. Everyone dismissed. At the coach's command, the students scattered in all directions. I slowly walked onto the track and began to run. Though it was nearing evening, being midsummer, the daytime heat hadn't subsided. After running less than 200 meters, I felt like I was trapped in a furnace. How I wish there was a swimming pool before me. I would have leapt straight in, diving toward freedom. As I ran, I faintly heard someone calling my name. Turning my head, I saw that the two people I had just passed were none other than Ethan and Chloe. Isabella, it really is you. Chloe looked surprised, then confused. The club has already disbanded. Why are you still running? And didn't you faint earlier? You should rest more and not overexert yourself. I ahem her before I could figure out how to explain. Ethan had already cut and she obviously knows she has gotten fat and wants to exercise to lose weight. Besides, she was faking that faint earlier with her build. Who do believe she is actually weak? Ethan hearing him shamelessly gossip about me in front of others made me burn with humiliation and anger. Faking the faint was wrong of me, but he has no right to judge me. Even if he is my best friend, he can't do this. I didn't even dare to look at Chloe's expression right now. It was probably full of disdain mixed with sarcasm, maybe even a hint of pity. I clenched my fists tightly, gritted my teeth, and wanted to just walk away. At that moment, Chloe spoke softly. Seven, who said only thin people get sick. Anyone can feel unwell. It doesn't need any reason. Hearing this, I froze momentarily, staring blankly at her. Her face showed no trace of mockery, just the same gentle smile that felt like a spring breeze. Regardless, physical health is what matters most. Everything else comes second. Ethan, thank you for your help earlier. I won't disturb you all any longer. Goodbye. Chloe waved her hand and turned to leave. Ethan watched her go, then glared fiercely at me. It's all your fault. With that, he hurried after her. I stood rooted to the spot, utterly confused. What's my fault? I hadn't even said anything yet. What a lunatic. Rolling my eyes silently, I pushed them out of my mind and kept running. For some reason, this time the run actually felt much easier. Though I was still exhausted, my mood was inexplicably cheerful. The 2-week summer camp flew by in a flash. I was finally free to go home. As soon as I stepped inside, the rich aroma hit me. A closer look revealed the table laden with dishes, all my favorites. Seeing me return, Mom quickly called out, "Go change and wash your hands. Ethan and his family will be here soon." Got it. By the time I came out of my room, Ethan's family had already arrived. I greeted him with a smile, but he just glanced at me before lowering his head to fiddle with his phone again. I leaned in to see what he was playing on his phone, but he noticed and immediately locked the screen. He glared at me and said, "Who said you could peek?" I wasn't. I flustered, trying to explain, but he didn't give me the chance, standing up and moving to sit somewhere else. Clearly putting distance between us, I felt a little hurt. We used to be so close that we could walk into each other's rooms without even knocking. How did we suddenly become so distant, though? I don't know why. I understand it's my fault. So during dinner, I took the initiative to peel crabs for him as an apology. But unexpectedly, all I got in return was his mockery. 8. I decided to start losing weight. Back when I was mocked, I could still comfort myself by thinking I had a true friend who understood me best. But now the one stabbing me in the back is him. The disgusted look he gave me. I've never hated my own fat so much before. It's truly sickening. When I mentioned losing weight, the first to object were Mom and Dad. Why lose weight when you're perfectly fine as you are? Your parents worked so hard to raise you plump and fair, healthy and strong, not for you to go messing with yourself for no reason. Just treat Ethan's words as farting. Let him say whatever he wants. We won't pay him any mind. Mentioning Ethan, my mom grew especially angry. All those cola chicken wings I made for him back then might as well have been fed to a dog. Not only did they firmly oppose my dieting, but they also worried I'd pretend to agree while secretly rebelling, so they kept an eye on me during meals. Not even one bite less would do. Since it didn't work at home, I could only figure something out at school. During lunch break, when all my classmates went to the cafeteria to eat, I went to the playground to run laps. But I hadn't run for long before I started feeling dizzy and nauseous. Dazed and sluggish, I just wanted to collapse to the ground. Unable to hold on any longer, I took out my phone and reluctantly called Ethan. Ethan, I'm not feeling well. Could you? Isabella, are you faking illness again? Using the same trick over and over? Aren't you tired of it? Ethan hung up without hesitation after his harsh words. Along with the call, the last shred of delusion in my heart was severed. In the end, nothing remained. The moment before I fainted, a blurry figure seemed to rush toward me in panic. But I could no longer make out who it was. 9. When I woke up again, I was in the school nurse's office. "You're awake," a gentle voice reached my ears. Turning my head, I saw it was Chloe. She looked at me with concern and asked, "How do you feel? Are you still feeling unwell anywhere?" I shook my head. "The nurse said you had heat stroke. You'll be fine after resting. When it's hot out, don't wander around the playground at noon anymore." "How did you? I happened to be passing by and saw you fainted on the ground, so I quickly found someone to help bring you here." Chloe blinked at me with a sly smile. "After all, I have more experience with fainting spells. I know how to handle them." Hearing this, I couldn't help but laugh and sincerely thanked her. "Thank you so much, otherwise I might still be lying on the ground right now." "Don't mention it. We're classmates. Helping each other is what we do." Hearing those familiar words, I couldn't help but feel a bit dazed. Is everything just supposed to be this way? Then why would a classmate I barely know extend a helping hand without hesitation, while the friend I thought was true turned a blind eye to my plea for help? Matters of the heart are truly hard to explain, but I'm quite curious. What were you doing wandering around the playground at high noon? It concerned my hidden pride, and I didn't want to say, but remembering how she had just helped me, I couldn't bring myself to keep it from her. "I was just trying to lose weight," I stammered. "So you went running without even eating first?" Chloe's eyes widened in shock. "No wonder you got heat stroke. Losing weight like this is dangerous. You could seriously damage your health." "I have no choice. I'm too fat. I'd rather have a weak body than keep being an unwanted fatty." "How can you think like that?" I was wallowing in self-pity when her sudden outburst startled me. Staring at her blankly, utterly at a loss. "10. Do you know how much I envy you?" Chloe sighed and reached out her hand. Her wrist was slender, her skin pale, with clearly visible veins. I've been frail since childhood, can't carry heavy loads, can't do strenuous work during PE class. When others were playing, I could only sit in the classroom. I couldn't even join school organized spring outings because they worried something might happen to me. The summer camp was something I insisted on attending. I didn't want any special treatment. I just wanted to be like everyone else, but my body failed me again, and I couldn't hold on. When Ethan said you were fainting on purpose, I was actually relieved, glad you weren't really sick, that you were still healthy. You think you're fat, but to me you're not, maybe a little plump, but still within a healthy range. Who says only thin is beautiful? Beauty has no single definition. Besides, we're in high school, now the most crucial time for studying. If you only focus on dieting to lose weight, you'll end up with poor concentration, a weakened body, and falling behind in your studies. When do you regret it? Is it worth wasting your future for so-called beauty? Chloe took my hand, comparing them. Her fingers were slender, while mine were noticeably a full size larger. Try holding my hand, she said. I obediently complied. Chloe gave a bitter laugh. See, you're barely using any strength, yet I can't break free. Sometimes what you disdain is precisely what others yearn for, but cannot attain. Before loving others, learn to love yourself first, I said, gazing at the shimmering light in her eyes. Slowly and solemnly I nodded. 11. Chloe gave me a recipe. It was a weight loss meal plan she had specially prepared for me. I know you might not take my words to heart, but if you still want to lose weight, I hope you'll take it step by step without rushing for quick results. These past few years, my poor health has worried my parents greatly, especially when it comes to diet. They've been extra cautious, even consulting specialists to prepare nutritional meals for me. This recipe was also arranged by an expert at my request. I hope it can be of help to you. I took it with pleasant surprise, momentarily at a loss for words. Just then Ethan walked over, hearing our conversation. He sneered contemptuously. Isabella, with your current state, you're still thinking about losing weight. First learn to control your mouth. When you can quit snacking and milk tea, then I'll respect you as a real person. Furious, I suppressed my anger and asked him that day, when I fainted on the playground and called you for help, you hung up on me. In the end, it was Chloe who took me to the nurse's office. Do you have anything to say about that? I thought Ethan might show some remorse, but his reaction was beyond anything I could have imagined. Chloe took you to the nurse's office. Ethan widened his eyes, his surprise laced with anger. Isabella, are you out of your mind? Don't you realize how heavy you are? What if Chloe got hurt? How could you be so shameless? He then turned to Chloe, his face full of concern. Chloe, are you hurt? Are you okay? I almost couldn't help but laugh at the sight. How ridiculous my past fantasies seem now. Chloe looked confused. Aren't you two good friends? Bella fainted, and you didn't even care. What could possibly happen to her? Ethan waved his hand dismissively, saying carelessly, she is as strong as an ox. Nothing could ever happen to her. Unlike you, you're so frail. What if she accidentally crushed you? Ethan, Chloe's face darkened, her expression more serious than ever before. With a stern face, she spoke earnestly. Please show some respect for Isabella and stop using her weight to attack her, okay? Seeing Chloe's displeasure, Ethan panicked, fumbling awkwardly to explain. But Chloe didn't give him that chance, turning around and returning to her seat. Watching Ethan standing there in flustered confusion, an indescribable sense of satisfaction welled up in my heart. He deserved this. He had it coming. I was determined to draw a clear line with Ethan and never interact with him again. Yet, unexpectedly, he suddenly seemed to have a relapse and started trying to cozy up to me again. Bring me breakfast, buy me milk tea, and my desk is stuffed with snacks. It was utterly baffling when he placed yet another cup of milk tea in front of me. I stopped him. What exactly do you want? Can you just say it directly? Nothing at all, just treating a good friend to milk tea, that's all. Good friends? I looked at him with a mocking smile. Would good friends stand by and watch someone in distress? Would good friends hurl insults? Would good friends mercilessly ridicule and mock each other? Ethan, do you have some misunderstanding about the word friend? Faced with my sarcasm, Ethan flushed red, his expression awkward. He glanced around, then leaned in close and lowered his voice. Isabella, the first was wrong before. I can apologize to you, considering how many years we've known each other. Just let it go. I can let it go. And then what, since you're letting it go, could you explain things to Chloe for me? Tell her it was because you faked fainting before, so I didn't help you, but usually I take good care of you. At this point, Ethan frowned, looking troubled. She hasn't been paying much attention to me these days. She must still be angry about what happened last time. It's all because of you. You need to help me smooth things over with her, so she stops misunderstanding me. So this was his real motive. If it weren't for Chloe giving him the cold shoulder, he would never have apologized to me in this lifetime. He never thought he was wrong. He just worried Chloe is ignoring him. So you like Chloe? Ethan didn't deny it. Of course. She beautiful, has a great figure, and such a gentle, sweet temperament. Who wouldn't like her? You're right, I nodded, smiling at him, and then I seriously countered. So what makes you think you're worthy of her? 13. Ethan froze, not understanding my meaning. What are you talking about? I kindly repeated myself. Chloe is perfect in every way. What makes you think you're worthy of her? Is it your complete lack of emotional intelligence, your muscle-bound brain, or maybe that foul mouth of yours that sounds like it's been eating shit? You shouldn't judge someone just by their looks. Take a good look at yourself first. Isabella, are you out of your mind? Ethan flushed with anger at my scolding, nearly cursing aloud. I only felt an overwhelming sense of liberation, wishing I could laugh triumphantly at this guy. Why should he be allowed to mock and ridicule me while I can't fight back? I'm not his damn mother. Why should I put up with him? Ethan's face turned red with anger as he glared at me for a long moment, then suddenly let out a mocking laugh, as if struck by some thought. A terrible premonition rose in my heart. Isabella, you were always so well behaved before, listening quietly no matter what I said. Why are you so furious now that I mentioned liking Chloe? I get it, you like me, you're jealous of her, so you're deliberately being nasty to try to keep me. Even your friendship with Chloe was calculated, wasn't it? You were afraid she'd take me away, so you inserted yourself between us, trying to sabotage things. Isabella, you're so manipulative. Since we're being blunt, I'll make myself clear. I could never like you in this lifetime. Stop wasting your efforts. You'd be better off figuring out how to lose weight instead of remaining a fat pig nobody would want even if you paid them. I watched coldly as Ethan's mouth opened and closed, spewing out one vile sentence after another. Strangely enough, it hurt at first, but gradually that painful feeling began to fade. By the end, seeing his smug expression as if he'd seen through my supposedly filthy heart, I could only find him laughable. Men always so mediocre, yet so full of themselves. Don't worry, if I ever like you, I'm a dog. With that, I grabbed the milk tea and flung it hard at him. Watching him drenched in tea, looking both disheveled and furious, I smiled faintly. Get lost, don't disgust me with your presence. Isabella, you've got some nerve, don't you dare regret this later. With a harsh remark, Ethan turned and stormed off angrily. Regret? I won't feel any regret. I'll only look forward to a better tomorrow. 14. Ethan and I completely severed ties. We stopped speaking when we met, pretending not to see each other, avoiding anything that might bring us together. After returning home, we no longer had any contact, let alone sat down to eat together. My parents already had issues with him because of that previous incident, and now that I've cut ties with him, they certainly won't take the initiative to invite his family over. Gradually, the two families that were once so close ended up completely losing contact. I didn't really care much, and just carried on as usual. Only Ethan was deeply upset, and for no other reason than because of Chloe. Chloe and I grew increasingly close, always sticking together like glue, inseparable. Ethan wanted to get close to Chloe, but he didn't want to run into me. He kept trying to find ways to get rid of me, but unfortunately for him, he failed every time. Every time I saw him standing at a distance, staring at us, with that helpless look on his face, I couldn't help but laugh. Of course, I also asked Chloe for her opinion. After all, the grudge between Ethan and me was our own business. It had nothing to do with her. If she had feelings for Ethan, I wouldn't be so shameless as to interfere. Unfortunately, while the flower yearns for love, the stream flows heartlessly. Chloe truly had no interest in Ethan. In fact, she even found him somewhat repulsive. Attacking a girl based on her appearance is inherently a low move. What's worse, he put me down to lift you up. His behavior is even more despicable, especially since you two were friends. The way I see it, he seems to be trying to pit us women against each other. I think he has questionable character. It's best to keep your distance. I wished I could have recorded it and played it on loop in Ethan's ear. Let him see what it means to hoist with his own petard. 15. Out of kindness, I found a way to convey Chloe's thoughts to Ethan. I hope he gives up soon and stops deluding himself. Mostly, I was fed up with him staring at me relentlessly, every day, sending chills down my spine. Whether he finally faced reality or not, he actually stopped watching us. I felt a sense of liberation, incredibly relieved. But it wasn't long before the school became filled with all sorts of rumors about me. First, a post appeared on the school forum explicitly naming me and claiming I had psychological issues, suggesting my weight was meant to cater to people with particular fetishes. Soon after, several photos surfaced, bold, explicit, and provocatively posed. Though the faces were blurred, they vaguely resembled mine. Even the scar near the thigh looked eerily similar to mine. In an instant, the gazes directed at me turned strange, accompanied by hushed whispers everywhere I went. I felt like a piece of meat on display, open to everyone's judgment. I couldn't bear the harassment anymore, and went to seek help from a teacher. As I was leaving the office, I happened to see Ethan standing in front of Chloe. When he saw me, he smirked triumphantly and took a step forward. Isabella, the first, never thought you were this kind of person. All these years, I must have been blind. If you don't respect yourself, don't drag others down with you. Stay away from Chloe from now on. If she gets hurt because of you, I won't let you off easy. Looking at the smug grin he couldn't even suppress, I let out a cold laugh. Oh, really? You say I don't love myself? Do you have any proof? Everyone in school is talking about it. What more evidence do you need besides aren't those photos on the forum proof enough? You can Photoshop pictures. How can you be sure that that's me? I advanced toward him step by step, my gaze locked onto him. Let me remind you, if you can't prove that that's me in the photo, it's defamation. If you can prove it's me, then it's distributing obscene content. Either way, it's not a good look for you. Ethan retreated under my pressure, the smile vanishing from his face. He looked visibly flustered, his voice turning unnatural. Why are you telling me this? It's not like I posted it. Nothing much, just killing time with some small talk. I shrugged with an indifferent expression, but if I were that person, I'd delete those posts and photos as soon as possible. After all, with how advanced the internet is these days, it's easy to track down who did it once they're exposed. It'll be really embarrassing. I've already talked to the teacher, and she said she'll do her best to investigate. Hopefully we'll get results before the other party deletes everything. After saying this, I let out a long sigh, my face showing a trace of melancholy. Ethan frowned, deeply lost in thought, then turned and hurried away. As soon as he left, Chloe leaned in and whispered, I suspect. No need to suspect, it's definitely him. Seeing how certain I sounded, Chloe looked puzzled. Did you find evidence? I shook my head. Not yet, but judging by his reaction, it's pretty much confirmed. The main thing is very few people know about that scar on my body, only him. We grew up together since childhood, and even bathed together back then. He has seen it, and knows exactly what it looks like. If that scar hadn't appeared in the photo, I wouldn't have been so sure. This time, he gave himself away. Ethan thought deleting those things would make it as if nothing had ever happened. Unfortunately, he was too naive, and there's something I didn't tell him. I called the police before seeking out the teacher. I had already gone with my parents to file a police report. I was just putting on a show for Ethan by looking for a teacher. The cyber police quickly tracked down the target by following the digital traces left behind. The day the police came knocking, Ethan was at home browsing the internet, searching for ways to further ruin my reputation. Before the results could be found, he was taken away with conclusive evidence, and him already being 16 years old, after discussion by the school leadership, he was expelled. And before leaving, he had to publicly clarify and apologize in front of all the teachers and students to prove my innocence. Ethan's parents came to our door multiple times wanting to apologize and seek forgiveness. My parents didn't even let them, and what happened before could still be dismissed as childish ignorance. But now that something like this has occurred, it shows he has rotten to the core people like that just letting them in would bring bad luck. I was worried that Mom's anger might harm her health, so I comforted her at length. 17. The next time I saw Ethan was at my wedding. I had been admitted to my dream university, graduated successfully, found a satisfying job, and met the love of my life. We set our wedding date and sent out the prepared invitations to family and friends. On the wedding day, after the ceremony, I went back to the dressing room to change into my toast dress. The moment I opened the door, there stood a person our eyes met, and I almost didn't recognize him, Ethan. Years had passed since we last met. He'd grown much darker, put on weight, his hair thinning slightly, with an air of weariness about him. Seeing me, Ethan visibly tensed, rubbing his hands together nervously, his smile looking painfully forced. Bella, I never expected you to get married so soon. It's really sudden. I just found out and came specially to offer my congratulations. He looked me up and down with admiration in his eyes. I was sitting too far away earlier and couldn't see clearly, but now that I look properly, you've become so beautiful and more charming than ever. Oh, really? Didn't you think I was as fat as a pig and found me disgusting? I retorted mercilessly. I haven't lost any weight. I'm basically the same as before. You'd better not mistake me for someone else. No, I was just too young back then, and didn't know how to appreciate you. Ethan kept waving his hands in explanation, his eyes still greedily lingering on me, unwilling to look away. I saw your husband. He looks a bit like me, so deep down you still can't let go of me, right? That's why. Not at all. I rudely cut off his nonsense, rolling my eyes. I raised my hand in refusal. Don't you dare say you realized you actually like me or something. It makes me sick. I turned my head and noticed my cousin and his classmates happened to be nearby. I quickly waved them over and pointed at Ethan. This guy spread indecent rumors about me back in school, and now he is harassing me again. No idea how he got in here. Do me a favor and throw him out. My cousins were at that age where they couldn't tolerate injustice, so hearing this was simply unacceptable. They immediately grabbed Ethan, stuffed a napkin into his mouth to silence him, and carried him straight out. No sooner had they left than Chloe came over looking curious. What happened? Why all the commotion? Nothing, just a stray dog barged in, and my cousins chased it away. Why is there a dog in here? Chloe was slightly surprised but didn't pay much attention. She hurried me along. Go toast the guests quickly or all the relatives and friends will have left with their takeout boxes. That would be terrible. Hurry. I immediately lifted my dress and rushed toward the banquet hall, rushing toward the happiness that belonged to me. The end.